Hi, good morning, everybody, and good morning to all of our panelists for joining us. We are so excited to welcome you here to our Pathways to Parks webinar. We have an incredible panelist joining us here today, bringing in their experiences and perspectives as we talk about youth experiences outdoors, especially during this incredible time of COVID and the pandemic and distant learning and everything that's happening in our homes and in our lives. For those of you who don't know who I am or are new to the California State Parks Foundation, my name is Holly Martinez. I'm the Director of Programs and Advocacy. The foundation is a 50-year-old organization that works to advocate on behalf of all of our incredible 280 state park system. And Pathways to Parks is a campaign we launched last year, understanding that access to our incredible parks for those challenged youth are incredible places to experience health, mental health, connect with your community, connect with these extraordinary places. And what we have learned and seen more than anything is that during this challenging time, people are flocking to the outdoors and they are seeking a reprieve from nature. What we have also seen is that some people do have access, and unfortunately, it's really clear who doesn't have access. And the vision behind Pathways and so many of the organizations who are joining us today understand the value of what it means to try to bridge equitable access for those who don't have access to these extraordinary places. So with that, I would like to go ahead and start a couple of housekeeping notes before we get going. Everyone is going to be muted. Please feel free in the chat feature to say hello and share who you're with. We have an extraordinary group of people from all over, our park partners, many park personnel, nonprofits, and members joining us. We are, it looks like 198 strong so far this morning, so that's really exciting to know that everyone is super interested and wanting to participate in this conversation. Also, please be respectful in the chat. Now is the time more than anything to be kind to each other and be respectful. So we ask that you do that. And for those of you who are watching us from your home screens, make sure you hit the gallery view for this panel conversation. I think it's a better way to see everybody's faces talking, not just one at a time. So just a little reminder there. So let's get going. Well, let me start with introducing our incredible panel. First and foremost, we have the first partner of the state of California, Jennifer Siebel-Newsome. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for coming. Jennifer has been a brilliant filmmaker and really a thought leader at the forefront of disrupting really society's limiting perspective about gender roles and stereotypes and norms. She is a mother of 4, working from home, volunteering as first partner to do all this extraordinary work that she really is passionate about, from equity issues, especially lifting up women and families, as well as being an advocate, a fierce advocate for youth. We were very lucky for us to have her join the parks community and bring her voice to Pathways to Parks last year, understanding that she has a real perspective on, what nature can do and bring into the lives. And so we're very fortunate to have her, champion this issue. We're also really excited to have Santos Plaza with us here today. Hi, Santos. Nice to meet you and see your smiling face. Santos is our voice here representing youth. He just graduated last year from the leadership program at Outdoor Outreach. He's paying it forward and living the park's life by now being a field instructor for the program. So, I'm really excited to hear from you and bring attention to your experiences and how that experience propelled you on the path forward to, to the career that you are now embarking on and the lives you are changing for so many youth and kids today. We also have an extraordinary voice, Kim Moore-Bailey, who is an extraordinary expert, bringing 20 years of experience of strategic planning and community engagement. She is CEO of Youth Outside, an organization that really works to bridge outdoor experiences, especially for those underrepresented youth throughout the history and experiences that we have seen in so many challenged communities and beyond. And then finally, Lesford Duncan, he is a Senior Director of Programs at Outdoor Outreach. He has a long career in developing partnerships and enhancing health and mental health and resilience in children and families and communities down in Southern California. Les, thank you for joining us. So yes, let's go ahead and get going. And, you know, first partner, I'm going to just go ahead and jump in with you. First of all, thank you again for making so much time out of your busy day to join us. As a mom, I understand what it's like trying to do Zoom calls with kids in the background and, you know, running in and, you know, jumping into our conversation. So if that happens for me or anybody else on this call, totally understand. But, you know, you've continued to lend your voice to understanding, you know, what are some of the extraordinary benefits of youth outside. Last year, we talked about the UCLA research that we had launched that really shines a spotlight on, you know, the extraordinary issues that many Californians are facing who have a state park or a park in their own backyard, but unfortunately lack either the awareness or opportunity to experience them. So, you know, how have things been going for you? And most importantly, as an avid, you know, lover of nature and the outdoor experiences, how have you been dealing with this certain pandemic and experiencing nature in your daily life?
It's a great question. Thank you. And I mean, look, I just want to say what you all know, which is that nature heals. Nature is a savior. Nature is a pattern interrupt. It is critical for our health and our well-being, our physical health and our mental health. And so for me, it's been a savior. It's been a savior throughout my life. It's saved my children. It's, you know, there's nothing like running water, fresh air, the wind blowing, and greenery. And it's critical that all California children have exposure and access to the outdoors on a regular basis. And so, you know, that's what I care about. That's what I'm championing, and that's what you all are doing. And that's why I'm so grateful to be here, because your work is so critical for our kids' mental health. And we all know that as a result of COVID-19, our kids are challenged in more ways than one. And this is the means and what is necessary to really ensure equity across the board for all California children, which is access to the outdoors.
So as you've been, you know, in your home, and also, you know, your husband is the governor of the great state of California, what are you guys seeing from a statewide perspective with the status of children today? I know outdoor experiences for youth isn't your only, you know, issue that you've taken up as first partner. You're also really looking into what social emotional learning, healthy eating, but I'm curious what you guys are seeing and how potentially we could all come together as a parks community to see how parks can play a relevant role in the lives of kids and the challenges that they're facing.
Well, first we know the digital divide is real. So with distance learning, this is a critical issue that we're trying to address at the state level. And I think the governor, with his allotment of $5.3 billion for not just school safety, but to address equity and the digital divide, is really critical. On the other hand, we're also seeing our kids having more access to technology and social media than they've ever had, which is quite dangerous. It's, on the one hand, it's beneficial because they can be educated. On the other hand, they're exposed to things that most kids haven't been exposed to before, especially young children. And so there's this dance that we're having to do. And that's why gender media literacy and social emotional learning and all the work we're trying to do, looking at the impact of media and tech on our health, social and emotional on our children's social and emotional well-being. That's why it's so critical. And why I'm trying to put out into the world, hey, look, I know that we're confined in homes right now, but this is actually access to the outdoors through Pathway to Parks and through the Parks Foundation, where you can actually experience and be educated about nature, even if today you can't get there. So generally though, it's a really fragile time for families. We see, dual income households or single mothers or single fathers really struggling. Essential workers families are really struggling. It's a really, really tricky time. I am one who has hope, in that I want to remind us this is a chapter in all of our lives and we have to get through it. I do know that our kids' mental health is more impacted now than ever before. And so for that reason, nature and our state parks are more critical than ever. I see on social media, open the gyms, but I think actually people are realizing they actually just need the outdoors and they need nature and they need to obviously access it safely. So I'm seeing it in our backyard, meaning Sacramento area where we're visiting, parks and walking in nature. I do see people being respectful and thoughtful, and that gives me comfort and hope. And I see families out there and I see, how good it is for these children, but we clearly need to continue to access or make more available that to the breadth of California's families, especially our most marginalized and vulnerable families.
Yeah, so many powerful things to pull apart in your statement. And I'll direct this next one to Santos. Does that jive with you and what you're seeing kids directly experience? And are we seeing, the stressors of today and everyday life taking a toll on our kids? I'd love to hear your perspective, whether it's your own personal experience or how you're seeing with the kids you're working with.
Love to answer that. In my own personal experience, I've worked with children that are being heavily educated only through the online, right? And whenever I are on am on these programs where it's, just to talk, they really express this feeling of loneliness, right? And they feel like they're on their own and like they can't talk to anybody simply because they don't have that interaction, right? That very needed interaction from human to human. And when we talk about the outdoors and when we share our experiences of that, whether it be, memories from the past when we did in-person trips or when it's now, it's, I see this hopefulness like just come up into their face. Like you see the bright emotions that they have connected with these memories. And I think that's a part of the strength of the outdoors, is that it can bring such beautiful memories and beautiful emotions back into everyday life, even when in the present you can't feel that.
Thank you. That's really profound, and I'm curious, sort of, when you can get back out there, or even in the shape in which you are able to get back out there. Part of this conversation is really bringing to light some of the creative solutions I know you all as practitioners and program providers have started to do. How are you serving youth today, knowing that we can't go out in big crowds and really, the way we used to do business as usual?
Yeah. So most recently, I've been a part of these virtual programs where we will talk about lessons and ways to respect the outdoors. And it's mostly educating our youth on how to be safe in the outdoors and how to keep the outdoors, clean and beautiful for generations to come. Most recently, I was on an online Zoom meeting where we taught an outdoor career guide, where we shared with our youth the path to employment in the outdoors, like how all these memories that you're creating now, you can share that and turn it into a career. Like you can make this beautiful, beautiful lifestyle something that you carry on through the rest of your time. And I think being able to do that is just really, really awesome. And that's what I've been doing mostly.
That's awesome. I'm always inspired to hear some of the creative ways that nonprofits and programs locally are just, you guys are on the front lines meeting the needs of so many of our youth and our families and communities. And I love to hear these stories and see, how can we share how can we help each other during this time to kind of, meet these needs together. And Kim, you obviously have so much connection right now to so many nonprofits who are doing some of this work, like Santos and Les are doing with outdoor outreach. Share a little bit about your perspective on what's going on and what you're hearing on the ground when it comes to serving our youth.
Yeah, thank you so much, Holly, for that great question. And when I think about meeting the needs of youth, I definitely think about our partner organizations, our grantees, and how the young people that they're engaged with, how they're supporting them. And I've been thinking about it sort of like in three different buckets. First and foremost, everybody is dealing with this pandemic. Everybody is immersed in it, and our grantees in particular are really busy. And it first it starts with just addressing basic needs, right? And honestly, sometimes that meant putting this idea of the outdoors on the back burner. That it was really just that, how are you, kind of basic question. As Santos said, like, just a human connection sometimes was the real thing that needed to be addressed. But then, as the first partner said, very quickly, our grantees realized that the youth and their families, their physical and mental health was next. And often that meant, how do we support them in getting access to nature? How do we support them in getting access to the outdoors? So that was really one of the first things that we saw. Second, the reality is that the inequities that existed before have really become exacerbated during this time. And the paying attention, again, as Santos was talking, a lot of the organizations have shifted, for example, their programs to an online platform as a way of trying to continue to stay connected to youth. But there is this reality of having to go a step further. So as the first partner was saying, the digital divide was real. So it wasn't enough to just say, hey, we've transitioned to online programming. They had to reach out to their young people and their families to say, do you have the resources to stay connected? Can we offer you a tablet or a computer? Do you need a hotspot, right? Like they had to go one step further to say, in order for us to stay connected, what more do you need to stay connected, and can we support you in getting those resources in order to do that? And third, I think if there's an upside in all of this was the opportunity to pivot and really see some bright spots and creativity. And one place that we've really seen that emerge is with community and school gardens. They have really become this extraordinary resource. So first, obviously, for food access, but second, they have become these multi-generational opportunities for outdoor recreation. They've become community gathering places. And I think most importantly, especially now, they've become these places that have created like an agency of self-care, right? Like we've all really been struggling to figure out ways to do that. And these gardens have really created that opportunity to start to take back and own ways in which you can do that. And not to mention, they're getting folks outside in their community, in their backyard sometimes, or front yards, or just down the street. It's been amazing to watch our organizations be able to pivot. Sometimes this isn't what they would have been doing, but they've been able to pivot and support the facilitation of these amazing gardens.
First partner, I know you visited gardens and, really have been looking at the whole healthy eating in the school system, but so much of it is more about what I love that saying, agency of self-care. I'm curious your thoughts of what you might be seeing across, other school gardens / type of opportunity for this, innovation and connectivity.
Well, I definitely think, just to kind of play on the gardens component, I think that when children have gardens, not only is it wonderful for their mental health and their physical health, that they're learning to eat directly from the garden, you know, fruits and vegetables and color. As I always tell my children, you have to eat more color in your diet. It can't all just be white bread. But what they're also learning an appreciation for nature and cycles of life and how you have to care for things. So going back to what Kim was saying, it's so critical that we teach care and nurturing, because that's how we're all going to thrive, and that's the sustainability or the regeneration of our planet is care, right? Self-care and care of the environment and care of nature. So you know, I think they all go hand in hand, and it's why I've been so grateful to partner with you and partner on this task force for, you know, ensuring our kids have their school gardens, and ideally that communities have community gardens that move on the scale towards organic and regenerative, so that California really can lead the environmental movement in our country. And I would also just want to add that I'm proud of, and I just want to make sure everyone who's listening taps into, is, you know, that the governor had a budget this year that clearly was a tricky situation, but I'm really proud that we prioritize funding for these equity grants for underserved communities, and that we prioritize funding for eliminating fees for Californians who are most underserved. And sometimes I think with government that people aren't aware of that these are their parks, and that they are the beneficiaries, and that we are committed as an administration to equity, and that we're going to keep chipping away and doing the best that we can. When we can be bolder and, you know, throw more money at a problem, we will, but that we're doing the best that we can to ensure equity, because once again, this is a mental health issue, this is a physical health issue, and this is an environmental issue. And it's incumbent upon everybody to take advantage of what the government is providing to them, which is, again, these are their parks and their outdoor spaces.
Yeah, well said. And I know pretty much everybody on this phone and so many people joining this call were really big advocates vocalizing in support of 209, and we're really excited to see that stay in the budget, along with a number of other important, you know, funds supporting the state park system and the park system in general. We're seeing Prop 68 dollars really get infused and sort of doubled down on that funding resource at a time where we know it can spark the economy and help keep these places whole. You know, and so I know, Les, you were a really big proponent of 209 and really helping to bring a voice with the work that you're doing. And, you know, in one of the conversations we've had on the side is, you know, thinking about, you know, how do we really talk about proof of impact, that these outdoor spaces, be it a garden, a state park, a local park, that when we choose to make them accessible and when we really fight for equitable access, how do we prove to funders, be it the government, philanthropy, and others, that these outcomes are critical to the health and welfare of all of our communities? And I know it's an area that you have really specialized in, and it's an area that you are, you know, have been thinking about, and would love your thoughts on this, because I do think how we talk about as a collective unifying voice for youth and communities and green space access, you know, impact and demonstrating impact is really critical to telling that part of the story.
Absolutely, thank you for that, Holly. And you know, I think I think where we've seen really tremendous outcomes has been even throughout COVID. So just to kind of echo some of what my esteemed co-panelists have shared, you know, as we've gone through COVID, one of the things that we saw kind of immediately coming into COVID when we surveyed our youth across the board was this increased sense of fear, of anxiety, of social isolation. And as Santos shared as well, our youth were just looking for that opportunity to connect with others, to get outside of that. What we also saw here in San Diego were unfortunately increased risks and increased cases of child abuse, increased cases of suicidality, mental illness amongst youth So during the time of COVID, as many programs similar to ours were closing down, we doubled down and said, right now, more than ever, we really need the outdoors as that place of healing, as the first partner shared, as that place of solace for our youth to really engage. So throughout much of COVID, we provided virtual programs, as Santos had shared, and then this past month began reopening safely and cautiously some of our outdoor programs for youth, as well as for families and family units, whether it be helping to facilitate some of our families going out to San Clemente State Beach to get out of the home and to camp and to be able to experience that healing power of nature. Or it's our leadership program going out on a mountain biking trip and maintaining social distance and having masks on. We've seen incredible outcomes come as a result of that. And so I think a huge part of this work moving forward is recognizing and really sharing widely the health and mental health benefits of being in the outdoors. And so going into this fall, we're looking to work with mental health providers across San Diego, school districts across San Diego, to be able to provide an alternative to some of the traditional forms of education and mental health care through the outdoors, to really create that impact that way.
That's great. And I love to hear, again, how are we pivoting to safely create these spaces for youth, and knowing that you can do that safely in smaller numbers with all the right safety precautions. And, I know as, we go back into the school year, we're not really going back to school as usual, right? And I know that there's a lot of movements out there to really look at outdoor classrooms or outdoor spaces. The Green Schoolyard is doing some incredible work, the Outdoor Alliance for Kids, some of our really great partners. And Kim, I know that you have been a long time working in this space. I'd love to hear, what kind of creative solutions or conversations are happening about the education system and leveraging outdoor spaces as we look ahead to meet this challenge.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I think this is the time, right? The Green Schoolyard movement, for me, this seems like such a natural opportunity. And there are cities, like New York, that has managed to just turn over asphalt schoolyard after asphalt schoolyard, even before COVID. And now those communities are really benefiting from it. And it's exciting to see the momentum happen here in California. But we also have an abundance of parks that we can be taking advantage of as schools are trying to figure out how to reopen, and the recognition that sitting inside of a classroom right now is perceived as being challenging and unsafe. And so how can we take advantage of our parks? How can we set up classrooms outside? How can we tap into our environmental educators and our park staff who can translate and support our teaching staff to take the curriculum that they need to impart on these students and use our parks as the backdrop to begin to support our students in getting the teaching the learnings that they need to have, but use our parks as the place to learn. I mean, it is experiential education at its best, and it's tapping into the knowledge that already exists. And there are nonprofit organizations as well as park staff that are eager to engage young people in this way. And dare I say that there are test results that need to be met as well. So I think, to begin to mitigate some of the loneliness and fatigue that we're all experiencing doing things online, here's an extraordinary way to bring folks together, to do it in a social distancing way, to do it in the outdoors, and allow nature, allow the outdoors to teach our young people towards these outcomes. And we know that you can learn from English to science to everything in the outdoors. It's not just about environmental science. Everything can be taught. So this is an incredible opportunity, all grades, to begin to tap our outdoor spaces and do it safely.
Bravo, well said. First partner, go for it. Respond.
Inspired me because that's such a beautiful vision, and you've just given me some thoughts. So we'll have to talk offline, right, Holly?
Yes.
This is it. I mean, it's really if you know, that's the creativity we need right now. To your point, you can teach poetry, you can teach art, you can teach English, you can do all of that in nature, and you're right on. And what a wonderful, I like to think of these crises as an opportunity to completely rejig the system and recreate something brand new, and like use a crisis to fix a major problem. So thank you for your wisdom there and inspiration.
Yeah, no, and I think that there are a lot of, I'm kind of reading some of these comments, and I know from just our partners and park staff, state park staff, I know everyone is working around the clock. A big shout out to them. They have been in the parks day after day, very little time off, just because parks are being flocked to, and they are saviors, and they are reprieve, and they're also the future. They're the future to also solving some of our most pressing challenges and needs. And I think about these extraordinary landscapes that still have great potential to really serve so many more people that we can think of today and together and collectively. As we think about educators and how do we train and give them the tools that they need to be successful, how do we equip parents with tools to be successful as they're guiding their kids' education? How do we help families who don't have that luxury to be as present in their kids' lives as they, socially distant school from home? And I think about a lot of policies, creative ones, low cost to no cost solutions potentially, that we can really try to drive forward. And at the California State Parks Foundation, we're working towards thinking about those policy solutions, working with all of you and everybody on this call and beyond to bring forward some creative solutions to think about our state park system, but also learning from so many of our other park partners who've been doing this work, whether it's national parks, regional parks, local parks, to think about bringing these solutions to the forefront, because we see the opportunity. Crisis breeds innovation. I think we've all heard that saying. And so how can we be innovative in this moment? Because this moment, people really, truly realize the value of parks. It is relevant, it is necessary, it is a lifeline. And we want to make sure that lifeline is available to everybody, regardless of where you live, the color of your skin, and I think that this is the moment. And I know we're getting a little bit short on time, so I want to kick it over for a few more questions. Santos, I'd love to bring it back to you. When you speak, I get chills because you have such a great perspective. How is this conversation resonating with you, and what do you think you need to be successful as somebody who's now delivering, who went through this as a young adult and a young person, to now deliver this to youth? What would you, if you had a wish or a genie in a bottle and we could grant that, what would you need to do your work successfully?
Ollie, and I'm going to answer the question, but before I do, I want to say thank you to Kim and the first partner, because the conversation about bringing education in the outdoors is something that I've thought about, especially as a part-time assistant teacher. Like, it is something that I think is just something we should need to strive for as a society. It's such a great way to teach kids, and I think they would really benefit from it. So thank you. Now back to the question. If I had a genie in a bottle just to get anything, and I mean, like, the most immediate thought comes better equipment, right? Like, just something to keep the kids safe so that we can all experience the outdoors just in a safe way that they can go home, their parents can be confident that no one is at risk, right? And like, but that requires like funding, that requires like innovation, like there's so many things that I personally can't even start to imagine and think about what would be involved in that. But I think a start would be, recognition of it, like mass recognition of what needs to be done and how swiftly that action needs to be taken, right? Because this crisis isn't just, like an issue for like environmentalists, right? It's a human issue to provide everyone this access, because we all should recognize how important it is. And so I don't quite know if that is an answer that you were looking for, but that would be my answer.
I think you hit on a few really great points, right? Better equipment, and whether that be bridging the digital divide or just, ensuring that parents feel like they're confident and safe in the absence of their presence. And also, I want to drive down a little bit on what you just said, mass recognition of what needs to be done. That's why we're here. And that's why I appreciate all of you showing up. It's why the first partner, I think, is part of Pathways. And, we have so much opportunity to grow this coalition even more and continue to bring more unique and diverse and, experienced and non-experienced voices to the table, because so many different perspectives really matter in this work. And I hope at Pathways to Parks that we can be a convener and a facilitator of these type of discussions to continue to breed innovation and collaboration. Not that we will figure it out on our own, but that we hope that we can get even further together. And that's the vision behind Pathways to Parks. I am really mindful of everyone's time, because I think we live in a Zoom world and everyone can get a little zoomed out. So in the last few minutes, I just kind of want to wrap it up. If there's any closing thoughts each of you as this panel would like to leave us with, take 30 seconds to a minute to share that. And Les, I haven't heard from you for a while, so I'm going to call on you first.
Well, thank you. I would say, just in closing thoughts, I think just to again echo what many of the panelists had already shared. I think that COVID has really shone a light on some of the inequities that exist in the outdoors, and so the efforts that have been put forth, such as the effort that First Partner Newsom had mentioned, the outdoor equity grants, and the commitment by the legislature to continuing to fund equity and access programs across the state, to keep kids and their families actively engaged in the outdoors. I think will really help to enable us to develop out some of those proofs of concepts for how we can begin to revamp and change many of our systems, whether it be from how we provide education to how we provide mental health care to how we engage youth that are in the criminal justice system or in social services. So I'm excited for the path moving forward. I'm excited to really have at the highest level of the state that commitment to parks equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. And I think I'm just going to move, to my left. So First Partner, you're on my left.
No, just I want to echo that. I mean, this is really about partnership. So I just hope that everybody joins the coalition word. And this is, in any way that we can partner and lift each other up and really be strategic in how we move this vision forward. We have to get kids outdoors, more access to education outdoors in state parks. It's so brilliant. It makes perfect sense. I actually had the wonderful fortune of our kids visiting a state park. And I was talking to the folks there, just saying, every kid needs to have this opportunity to camp out and to have this experience with their family. It heals families. It soothes families. It's good for our community. Families are the backbone of communities and society at large. And it really starts with nature, is my firm belief and my personal experience. And so, I hope everyone joins the coalition, Pathways to Parks. And I hope that everyone on this call and beyond and that we really are, committed to move the needle forward and ensure equity for all of California's children. And I'm just really, really excited about this. And I thank you, Holly, always for your incredible grace and leadership and strategic smarts and bringing everybody together.
Oh, thank you. And well said. And I will close a little bit after we finish with our panelists on how everyone can join the coalition. So thank you for sharing that. Santos, you're next.
For my closing thoughts, it would really, man, there's so much I would want to say, but it's really that the idea that the outdoors is like a place of tranquility. Like even the thought of it would bring calming to my mind, right? And there's so much joy that can be had in the activities that you can do outside. Just being outside in itself is a healing process. Like we need the sun, we need the fresh air. And I would hope that after this conversations and these just inspiring words from everyone here is that we all continue to strive for the best, right? We strive to have our children and our future generations to see the outdoors and how grand and beautiful that it can be. And I hope that I can help and continue to help for my future employment to share the outdoors with all of our underprivileged youth.
Yes, thank you. And finally, Kim.
Thank you. I want to thank Holly and First Partner, Les and Santos. Really an honor to be here with everybody. And I think really speaking to the parks community and what it means to create relevant opportunities for youth and their families to have meaningful experiences in the outdoors, I would just encourage us to continue to create opportunities to address issues of racism when it comes to being in parks and continue to push for increased safety and a sense of feeling welcome in parks. Continue to offer programs that allow communities to practice what it means to have social distance opportunities, especially now in this time, and to have programs that center the family unit that will support these relevant outdoor experiences for youth, like Santos said, so that these experiences continue to be rich and meaningful and relevant, because I think when that happens, the visits just continue to come one after the other, and that ultimately is what we want. So thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yes, well, a big thank you all around to everybody who joined. Yes, Kim, I want all of that. And I think, to quote the First Partner, that is a beautiful vision. And I really, really appreciate the perspective, the true authentic voices that you bring to this parks community and this parks movement. I think that, if everyone has an opportunity to, as Santos said, feel the sunlight, breathe the fresh air, especially in this moment, that is such a great calling and mission for us all to fulfill, is to bring that sense of joy and health and connection to nature and potentially to each other during this time. I think that is the best healing and way forward in the face of a pandemic. And that is how California will get stronger and will thrive if we can do this together. So, in closing, I also want to thank everybody who joined us. I think we had close to 250 listen in, and that's amazing that you all are doing extraordinary work. You care about this issue. You're on the front lines. You're thinking of your own creative solutions to serving your community and, being the change that you want to see in your community. So I just give my whole heartfelt thanks to you in the field. And I really, want to echo the First Partner and join our coalition. We have started Pathways. We are now encouraging everybody to sign on to the campaign. And by signing on, it means that you agree with the values and the beliefs that we have expressed here today. You can learn more about Pathways on our website at calparks.org. Because, in the wise words of Santos, we must work to really bring greater awareness and intention about the work that needs to be done, because there's power in unity and in numbers. So please join us today. You can also look, get access to our toolkit, learn more about ways you can get involved in the work that we are pushing forward. And our goal is to be able to enlist you and activate you and use your voice and your passion for parks for greater systemic policies and opportunities that really help meet the needs of Californians through our incredible landscape. So with that, it is 11:48. I will let everybody go. I appreciate this. I appreciate your time to all the panelists. Thank you and have a great day. Take care.
Take care.